Hey there, news junkies and entertainment buffs. Welcome to New and Entertainment Advisor, your one-stop spot for the freshest scoops, hottest trends, and must-know stories breaking the internet, delivered with a twist of fun and a dash of insight. Hit that subscribe button, and let's dive into what's new, now and next. Sometimes the most shocking secrets come from places you'd least expect. Until recently, most Americans assumed that government agencies operated with a certain level of transparency. Maybe not perfect, but at least enough to keep the train on the tracks. Then whispers of massive fraud started rolling in, and suspicions escalated to the point that some officials even considered inspecting Fort Knox itself. Was the nation's gold really still there, or could it have mysteriously vanished? And what about the thousands of government employees who had seemingly gone silent, ignoring a direct order to report what they'd accomplished each week? As questions piled up, the controversies surrounding these eerie developments hinted that something bigger and far more disturbing was at play. The next few minutes will take you deep into the heart of a story where high-stakes politics collide with tech world ambitions, and the real shocker is how easily billions of dollars may have slipped through the cracks. If you think an email reminding people to justify their pay sounds mundane, keep watching. You're about to see why this simple request set off alarms that echo all the way to one of the world's most guarded vaults. It started with a memo that, on the surface, looked simple enough. Government employees were asked to list 5 tasks they'd accomplished in the previous week. This might sound like standard workplace protocol, but the fallout was immediate. Some agency heads advised their teams to ignore the request, claiming they were waiting on further guidance. Others viewed it as an unspoken ultimatum: do the paperwork or risk having your pay withheld. And it didn't take long for accusations of intimidation to emerge. Behind the scenes, an influential figure, someone with a strong track record of shaking up traditional structures, publicly endorsed the strategy. It was, they argued, the only way to catch potential ghost employees, the men and women whose names appeared on payroll but never on office rosters. Rumors circulated that entire government departments had been padding budgets, paying people nobody could verify. Some described it as a phantom workforce, effectively bleeding taxpayers dry. As the controversy grew, more provocative details surfaced. A handful of anonymous insiders hinted that the number of questionable employees wasn't just in the dozens or hundreds, it could be thousands. Billions of dollars in taxpayer money might have quietly drifted away for years. And yet, people wondered, could one simple email possibly unravel all that? That's when the ultimatum was laid out in stark terms. Failure to respond could be interpreted as a resignation. This bold line in the sand shocked the system. Everyone from junior clerks to high-ranking officials found themselves in the crosshairs. Some agencies appealed for special exemptions, claiming national security or confidentiality. Others believed the policy would blow the lid on deeply entrenched corruption. But what no one expected was that this dust-up over mundane weekly tasks would tie into an even bigger, more ominous question. If billions of dollars were unaccounted for, what else could be missing? To understand the scale of the problem, you have to look back at how government bureaucracy ballooned over the decades. Numerous programs, sub-agencies, and shell initiatives seemed to spring up overnight, each requiring staff and budgets. Yet accountability often lagged far behind. Opaque hiring practices and minimal oversight led to a perfect breeding ground for inefficiency. In this environment, the concept of ghost employees began as a fringe conspiracy theory, until hints of truth started to poke through. Pollsters soon discovered that despite the uproar from certain government circles, the public actually supported the new transparency push. One poll from a respected institution suggested that a strong majority of taxpayers approved of verifying government staff. Tired of hearing about misused funds, people saw the email directive as a swift step toward accountability. Even skeptics conceded that requiring employees to detail their accomplishments wasn't an outlandish idea. Still, the entire undertaking turned out to be more complicated than expected. From the outside, it was easy to say, just send the form and see who replies. Inside the system, however, career officials bristled at the idea of revealing exactly what they'd done. Some claimed the tasks they performed fell under top-secret mandates that couldn't be detailed in a mass survey. Others worried the new approach was a smokescreen for political games. As the dust settled on the initial clash, more startling tidbits began to emerge. While rummaging through budgets and departments, investigators stumbled across suspicious payment trails, some leading to dead ends, others to shell organizations that no one could clearly define. The real bombshell came when certain individuals within the administration hinted at even deeper layers of corruption. Perhaps they suggested this was just the tip of the iceberg. If billions of dollars had vanished into phantom salaries, what else might be gone? That's when the name Fort Knox started popping up in hushed whispers. In times of crisis, few symbols of American security loom larger than Fort Knox. Often viewed as the ironclad vault guarding the nation's gold, it's synonymous with financial stability and trust. So when quiet suggestions surfaced that maybe all wasn't as it appeared behind those impregnable doors, heads turned and people worried. The rumor stemmed from a single offhand remark. "We're actually going to Fort Knox to see if the gold is there because maybe somebody stole it." On its own, it sounded like an exaggeration. But in the charged atmosphere of missing employees and questionable paychecks, every possibility suddenly felt wide open. Could it be that money wasn't the only thing vanishing? Might the gold reserves be compromised in some way that no one had dared to imagine? News channels and social media seized on the missing gold angle. Conspiracy theorists had a field day. Some insisted the gold bars were never tampered with. After all, Fort Knox is famously well guarded. Others spun elaborate theories that politicians and private interests had siphoned off precious metal for personal gain, leaving behind a fraction of what was supposed to be there. One particularly wild idea claimed that the real gold had been replaced with tungsten bars, a story that circulated online for years without concrete proof. Critics called the entire rumor a distraction tactic, something to divert attention from the immediate crisis of ghost employees. But the growing suspicion forced a new question. If massive fraud existed within government payrolls, why not within deeper federal reserves? After all, if the system was flawed enough to let invisible workers collect real paychecks, who's to say other corners of national finance were immune? Officials refused to confirm or deny any planned gold audit, but that only fueled speculation. Public curiosity skyrocketed, feeding talk shows, viral tweets, and endless memes about unoccupied desks and empty vaults. The real revelation, however, was that a famous figure from the tech world might hold the key to unraveling this entire saga, pushing for a level of transparency the bureaucratic world had never seen. Elon Musk, the billionaire entrepreneur known for launching rockets into space and upending entire industries, was never one to shy away from controversy. Though some question whether he has any formal mandate to weigh in on government housekeeping, that didn't stop him from tweeting his support for the ghost employee hunt. He didn't mince words either. If you're not responding to emails about your job, you're essentially resigning. Accountability matters. His sudden leap into the fray created instant headlines. Some government officials welcomed the outside support, believing Musk's no-nonsense approach would finally shake up a stagnant system. Others felt he was poking around in affairs he didn't fully understand, particularly in areas involving national secrets. Behind closed doors, reports suggest that agencies dealing with highly classified information balked at the idea of telling any private citizen, no matter how influential, what they did last week. They weren't about to have nuclear research or clandestine investigations blurted out on a form that could theoretically end up in the wrong hands. But Musk's stance remained firm. In his view, even the most secretive divisions should at least confirm their existence and the broad scope of their work to ensure no one was gaming the system. Meanwhile, some questioned Musk's motives. Why risk political backlash over an issue that seemed so far outside his usual orbit of electric vehicles, space travel, and AI? Was there a larger plan behind his government accountability crusade? Perhaps he was testing the waters for deeper collaboration, or even eyeing certain government contracts that would become available once inefficiencies were exposed. Speculation reached fever pitch when a leak suggested that Musk's team had offered a government optimization blueprint, borrowing from private sector strategies. If adopted, the plan might automate processes to detect ghost employees before they could collect a single paycheck. Critics argued this was a veiled attempt to embed his technology deeper into public infrastructure, effectively giving him more influence than any private citizen should hold. Yet, as the debate raged on, one point remained clear. The push to shine a light on hidden government inefficiencies had captured the nation's attention. In a matter of weeks, an unremarkable email turned into a full-blown spectacle involving rumored missing gold, hush-hush agencies, and a billionaire entrepreneur stepping boldly into the spotlight. Whether this would lead to genuine reform or simply another wave of sensational headlines was anyone's guess. The sheer scope of this story is almost too large to believe. A government suspected of harboring phantom employees, a potential trillion-dollar vault that may need to be checked for missing gold, and a tech mogul who refuses to remain on the sidelines. If even half of these rumors hold any truth, the country stands on the brink of its biggest upheaval in decades. The email ultimatum may have seemed extreme, but when weighed against the possibility of billions in wasted taxpayer money, it becomes a mere footnote in a sweeping drama of hidden agendas and urgent revelations. No matter where you stand, whether you view these audits and investigations as a necessary cleansing or a dangerous overreach, there's no denying the buzz. Day by day, the findings trickle out, feeding both skepticism and support. In this climate, the nation is forced to ask, will exposing ghosts in the system lead to newfound trust and transparency, or simply reveal that the rabbit hole goes even deeper than we ever imagined? One thing's for sure, the story is far from over. Each new revelation raises fresh questions. Could the entire gold reserve vanish without anyone noticing? Are unresponsive employees merely a small piece of a greater cover-up? And is Elon Musk the missing puzzle piece, or just another disruptive voice in an endless sea of political chaos? As new facts emerge, keep your eyes open and your mind ready. Because in the race to uncover the truth, surprises are lurking around every corner. And at this point, it's impossible to tell which next bombshell will finally crack the case wide open, or confirm that we've only just begun to see what's hidden behind the curtain.